Welcome back to the channel. So this video is to help everyone who is struggling with revision. Doesn't matter what subject or what topic, this will help everything. But there will be certain parts that are geared towards English specifically. Although most of the video is pretty generic and should be helpful to anyone who needs to revise regardless of age range. So let's get started.
I gave you my heart.
The first thing that most people tend to ask me is, why is revision so hard? And it's actually a pretty simple answer. There's quite a few reasons why revision is so hard. First one is that it is boring. I know I should say this, but it's true. Revision is boring. Revision is you going over things that you have been taught multiple times. You need to go over it again and again to make sure it stays in your head. That is how you remember it. Most people anyway. So it's boring to do the same thing again and again. You're like, oh, I've done this. And especially since most people tend to start at the front of the book and work their way through, because you've done that, it's just repetitive and annoying. So there's also the fact that it takes hours. Like, it is hours of your life spent on revising these topics that you may or may not like. So that is why revision is so hard. And it's not a bad thing. A lot of people find it hard, most people find it hard, and it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you for finding it difficult. I did. I think everybody did. I don't know anyone who actually found revision easy. So that is why it's so hard. It's boring, it's repetitive, and it takes hours of your life. So what can we do to make revision easier? So with a lot of my students, I tell them the best thing you can do is to find out what type of learner you are. So a lot of people don't realise this. There are 4 key learners in the world. No one's 100% one type of learner, although you will have more of one trait than another. And the best thing to do is find out what kind of learner or mix of learner you are, and then use those learner techniques to actually revise. I will put a link in the description box to one of the websites I use to assess my students, so that they know what kind of learner they are, and that way you can cater your revision to that kind of learner. So the 4 types of learners are visual, auditory, reading, writing, and kinesthetic. So I'll explain each one. Visual learners are those who prefer to see and draw. So they prefer pictures, images, diagrams. And that is how they do it. So they will prefer to put things into spider diagrams or into boxes and do it that way. They are stimulated by things being visual, and they like to highlight, they like colours, and they like things to be bold. And that's a visual learner. Auditory learners tend to prefer to listen as well as talk. So the people who prefer to talk through their answers are auditory learners, which sounds weird. You'd think it would be a verbal learner, but no. That is how they do. They talk through their methodology, they talk through their thought processes, and that is how they actually get from A to B. Kinesthetic learners are those who prefer to learn by touch and movement. So they're the sort of person that if they're given a scene in a play, would much prefer to act it out, or they prefer to make physical things to help them revise and learn. They do it by touch, kinesthetic, or movement. And then there's reading, writing learners, and those are the ones who prefer to just do practice by doing essays or notes. They like to write and they like to read, and that is how they remember. So like I said, there is no right and wrong with what type of learner you are. You just need to know what kind you are. So you need to take the test, find out the kind of learner, and then once you know what kind of learner you are, there are different things you can do that will make revision easier, which I will be saying in a minute. So yeah, so those are the 4 types of learner, and now next I'm going to explain the best ways for you to revise based on the learner type you are. So, visual learners. Best thing for you guys to do is to draw. So, for example, if you are doing characters in a play, draw a diagram of how each character is connected. Say, let's use Macbeth as an example. So you have King Duncan as the middle. Then you connect Macbeth. Who was Macbeth to him? He was a Thane of Glamis first, then the Thane of Cawdor, also the king's cousin, and then you do a link and put the notes of who they were and how they were connected. Then you do a diagram connecting Lady Macbeth to her husband Macbeth. Then Banquo, Macduff, Malcolm, Macdonald, all the characters, the witches, so how they all connect within the play. That is a way that you can revise. So diagrams and drawings is what visual learners make sense of. You can do it for pretty much all subjects, to be honest, but like I said, I will be doing examples for English because I am the English teacher. Auditory learners. I have a feeling a lot of teachers are going to tell me off for this, but when you're revising music, not music with lyrics, mostly instrumentals, would be very useful to have something in the background, because if you listen to a specific song while you're listening to a specific topic, while you're revising a specific topic, listen to that song for the topic each time. It will help you remember it, as well as watching videos and listening to audio tapes. So if you have the play as an audiobook, listening to it that way, that may help you remember very important and specific quotes. Teacher's gonna come for me because of the whole music comment. Don't hit me. Reading and writing learners, that one is a given. Notes. Make your notes. So I know a lot of people, I knew one student who loved to do her notes in pencil only, and it had to be an A4 book. And that was it. She didn't like colours, she didn't like highlighting, just pencil, and in an A4 book. It had to specifically be an A4 book, but that is how she practiced, and she would do her notes in pencil and her essays in pen. But that is something that you can try. So writing your notes down, obviously. Try out different books, because sometimes you tend to prefer a book size. I've noticed A4 is really good for doing your notes in. You get more on the page, so you can have a page per topic. But yeah, right, obviously reading and writing, you read and write. That one is probably the easiest one for people to do. And for kinesthetic learners, what you can do is walk. Try walking, so pacing, add some sort of movement. I tend to do most of my thinking while I walk, so I'll put on headphones and I'll go for a walk, and then that's how I plan out the things I need to do, whether it's my day, whether it's lessons, whether it's what bills to pay. But add some sort of movement, so walk around your room whilst you're reading Jekyll and Hyde or Inspector Calls or Romeo and Juliet, or whatever it is you do, and that will help you remember it, because kinesthetic learners need movement. So that is those are the tips that I would give to help with your revision based on the type of learner you are. Yeah. The big question is, will this work straight away? The answer is no. No revision is going to work straight away. It's going to take time. Remember those hours we talked about in the beginning of revision, you still need to put those hours in. However, knowing what kind of learner you are and knowing what style of revision will help you learn will make it more effective, which means you won't have to put in as many hours because you're theoretically learning more, remembering more now that you know what kind of learner you are, but it still will take time. What you also need to know is, as I said earlier, no one is 100% one type of learner. You could end up being 56% visual and then 44% auditory. When it's that close of a percentage, you need to figure out which one works for you both, so try both. It could be that for some subjects you're really good with the auditory and for some subjects you prefer visual, and that's fine, but you still need to, it's still good for you to learn and find out what type of learner you are. So like I said, there will be the link in the description box for you to go. I think I'll put a couple in so you can see that there's not much of a difference between the sites, but do the test and find out what kind of learner you are. Was this video useful? Remember to share, like and subscribe. It does help the channel's algorithms. I need to get up there, so it does help me. Please and thank you. If you have a question, leave a comment. It would also be quite nice to know what kind of learners you guys are. Like, just leave a comment, let me know how the test went. And follow me on my social medias. It will be in the description box as well. And I will see you all next time.
Peter Pan, that's what they call me. I promise that you'll never be